What's going on YouTube? Listen up, young elder gang. This is Shoeshine Joe at you, with another banger. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video, fam. I hope this video get at least 100,000 likes. In this video you will find history definitions, scripture information, and best of all, what we Americans have been deprived of from the beginning. The truth, keep in mind. This content used in this video is intended for entertainment, educational, and informational purposes only. We will give you the total truth as we best understand it today. Be sure to hit that like button. Young Elder Gang, hit that subscribe button. If you're new to the channel, hit that bell, and don't forget to check back with us every day for new content. He was not born a chief, nor did he inherit a legacy of leadership. Instead, his journey began in the shadows of hardship and uncertainty. Nor was his name always Geronimo. Before the world knew him as a symbol of resistance, he was simply a boy with a different name and a future unwritten. Born Goyakla, meaning one who yawns, in the rugged, unforgiving lands of what is now Arizona and New Mexico, he entered a world shaped by survival and tradition. He grew up among the Chiricahua Apache, a small band whose lives were deeply intertwined with the rhythms of the land. Their identity was rooted in their connection to the earth, their family bonds, and their warrior code. The Apache were not a single nation, but a collection of fiercely independent bands. Each group had its own leaders, customs, and territories, yet all shared a fierce determination to remain free. Goyakla's life changed forever in 1858. Mexican soldiers raided his camp, killing his mother, wife, and children. The loss was unimaginable, a wound that would never fully heal. Grief transformed him, igniting a fire that would shape his destiny. In the depths of his sorrow, he claimed to hear a voice, a spiritual promise that no bullet could kill him, that he was protected in battle. This vision gave him a sense of purpose and invincibility. From that moment, he became a man driven by vengeance, but also by a sacred mission to defend his people and their way of life. Every action, every decision, was fueled by a deep sense of duty. He rose as a medicine man and war leader, earning respect for his cunning, bravery, and spiritual insight. His strategies in battle became legendary among his people. During relentless battles against Mexican soldiers, he earned the name Geronimo, after the soldiers' desperate cries to Saint Jerome as they faced his ferocity in combat. Geronimo's leadership was not inherited but forged in the fires of loss and the crucible of conflict. He became a leader because his people needed him, not because tradition demanded it. He became the living embodiment of Apache resistance, refusing to yield to any outside authority, Mexican or American. His defiance inspired others to stand with him. As Americans and Mexicans encroached on Apache territory, Geronimo saw their threats not just as military but as existential, threats to his people's land, culture, and very survival. Geronimo's path was set. He would fight to defend his world, his family, and his heritage, no matter the cost or the odds stacked against him. He was not a chief by title, but with every daring raid, every narrow escape, his influence and legend grew. He became a symbol of hope and resistance for the Apache. Geronimo became the most feared and respected Apache warrior of his era, his name echoing across the Southwest as both a warning and a rallying cry. His legend was born from tragedy, resilience, and an unbreakable will, a legacy that would inspire generations long after his battles had ended. The U.S. government's vision for the West was manifest destiny, expansion at any cost. Native peoples like the Apache were seen as obstacles, not sovereign nations. The government forced tribes onto reservations, often barren lands far from their homes. The San Carlos Reservation, known as Hell's 40 Acres, became a prison for the Apache. The goal: break their connection to the land, destroy their culture, and make them dependent. Assimilation followed children taken to boarding schools, stripped of language and tradition. The government's motto: kill the Indian, save the man. Apache raids threatened American authority, so the military was unleashed to crush resistance. Relocation, assimilation, and force were intertwined strategies to erase Apache identity. The government's campaign was relentless, aiming to end Apache freedom forever. Geronimo fought not for glory but for freedom, the right to live as Apache on ancestral land. Reservation life was a death sentence, infertile soil, broken promises, and constant hunger. Government rations were scarce or stolen. Disease and despair spread. Leaving the reservation was survival, not just rebellion. Raids were desperate acts to find food and hope. Geronimo's fight was personal. He'd lost family to violence and seen his people betrayed. He trusted only actions, not words. For him, it was better to die fighting than live in submission. His resistance was for land, culture, survival, and dignity. He inspired a small band with his courage, refusing to accept the end of their world. The choice was stark: fight for Apache freedom or watch it vanish. For Geronimo, there was only one path: the path of the warrior. Geronimo became a legend for his uncanny ability to evade capture, earning a reputation that spread far beyond the Southwest. His name inspired both fear and admiration, as stories of his daring escapes grew with each retelling. He and his loyal followers repeatedly broke free from the confines of the San Carlos Reservation, vanishing into the rugged Sierra Madre Mountains. Each escape was a testament to their determination and deep knowledge of the land. Knowing every canyon, hidden pass, and winding trail, Geronimo outmaneuvered thousands of U.S. and Mexican soldiers sent to capture him. The soldiers, unfamiliar with the harsh terrain, often found themselves lost or ambushed. Crossing borders with ease, he used the land itself as his shield, striking swiftly and then disappearing like a shadow. The mountains and deserts became his allies, making pursuit nearly impossible. To settlers, he was a phantom, an unseen threat who could appear and vanish at will. But to the Apache people, Geronimo was a symbol of hope and resistance, embodying their struggle for freedom and survival. The U.S. Army, frustrated by years of failed attempts, launched one of its largest campaigns to catch him, dedicating thousands of troops and vast resources to the hunt. The pursuit became a national obsession. Despite new tactics like heliographs, an early form of long-distance communication, the Army could not outsmart Geronimo. For years, he and his band remained elusive, slipping through every net cast to catch them. But by 1886, exhaustion, hunger, and relentless pursuit had worn down his small band. The hardships of life on the run took a heavy toll on everyone, especially the women and children. General Nelson Miles, seeking to end the conflict, promised Geronimo reunion with his family and a return to Arizona if he surrendered. The offer seemed to hold a glimmer of hope for peace. Trusting this promise, Geronimo finally surrendered on September 4, 1886, bringing an end to decades of fierce resistance and struggle. His surrender marked the end of major Native resistance in the American West, closing a significant chapter in U.S. history known as the Indian Wars. But the government broke its word. Geronimo and his people were sent into exile, never allowed to return to their homeland. The betrayal left a deep scar on the Apache. Though his surrender closed an era, Geronimo's spirit of resistance endured, inspiring generations to remember the fight for freedom and dignity. To the U.S. government, Geronimo was the ultimate villain, portrayed as a savage and a threat to progress. Newspapers turned him into a monster, fueling fear and justifying harsh policies. Yet his skill and defiance earned grudging respect. He became a symbol of the untamed West. For Native Americans, Geronimo was a hero, the embodiment of resistance and dignity. While some leaders chose assimilation, Geronimo chose to fight. His name became a rallying cry, a symbol of courage against impossible odds. He stood at the crossroads of villain and hero, his legacy shaped by both worlds. The government needed a villain, his people needed a hero. Geronimo became both, a legend whose meaning still sparks debate. After his final surrender, Geronimo and his people were declared prisoners of war by the United States government, stripped of their freedom and forced to leave behind their homeland and way of life. They were shipped far from the familiar deserts of Arizona to the humid, unfamiliar swamps of Florida, a place utterly alien to them. Disease, malnutrition, and despair quickly followed. The harsh conditions of captivity took a heavy toll. Many Apache men, women, and children died far from home, their spirits broken by loss and suffering. For decades, the survivors were moved from prison to prison, first Florida, then Alabama, and finally to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Each move brought new hardships and uncertainty. Geronimo, once a proud and fearless warrior, was forced to become a farmer, working the land under guard. His days of freedom and resistance now a distant memory. Yet ironically, as his physical world shrank, his fame grew. He became a living relic, displayed at fairs and public events, a symbol of the vanishing Wild West. He was even paraded before crowds in President Roosevelt's inaugural parade, a spectacle for curious onlookers. The government used his image for propaganda, presenting the once feared Apache leader as a tamed and conquered figure. Geronimo, dressed in Western clothing, was posed as a civilized man, a stark contrast to his former life as a warrior. He participated in these events, perhaps to earn money for his family, or perhaps to ensure that his story would not be forgotten by the world. He spoke to crowds, met visitors, and tried to keep the memory of his people alive, even as he remained a captive. Geronimo never gave up hope of returning to his homeland. He dictated his autobiography, sharing his life story and the struggles of his people. He wrote heartfelt letters to President Roosevelt, pleading for release and a chance to go home. Each request was denied, leaving him in exile. In 1909, after a fall and a long illness, Geronimo's health failed. He spent his final days bedridden at Fort Sill, far from the land he loved. Geronimo died a prisoner at Fort Sill, never allowed to return to Arizona, his ancestral home. He never saw the mountains and deserts of Arizona again, but his longing for home never faded. Even in captivity, Geronimo's spirit remained unbroken, a testament to his enduring strength and the resilience of his people. At Yale University, the secret society Skull and Bones is shrouded in mystery and power. In 1918, members stationed at Fort Sill, including Prescott Bush, allegedly broke into Geronimo's grave. According to a discovered letter, they stole his skull and personal items. For Skull and Bones, collecting relics from famous figures was a tradition. Geronimo's skull supposedly became a prized trophy, displayed in their headquarters. The act symbolized conquest and the taming of the frontier. For decades, it was campus legend, until documents surfaced, giving the story new weight. The tale became a national controversy, raising questions about power and respect. The mystery of Geronimo's skull linked the Apache warrior to America's elite. The legend endures, fueling debate and outrage. Why steal Geronimo's skull? For Skull and Bones, it was about power and symbolism. Geronimo represented resistance, the ultimate other to be conquered. Possessing his skull was a ritual of dominance, a trophy of victory. In many cultures, owning a warrior's remains is believed to transfer strength or spirit. For these elite students, it was a secret act reinforcing their identity as future rulers. The secrecy itself was part of the power, proof they operated above the law. The skull became a symbol of impunity and control. This act echoed a long tradition of colonial appropriation, turning sacred objects into trophies. By taking Geronimo's skull, they reduced a symbol of resistance to a curiosity, asserting ultimate power. The theft remains a stark reminder of the ongoing struggle over history and respect. The story of Geronimo's skull is a living wound for his descendants and native activists. In Apache tradition, grave desecration disrupts the spirit's peace, a final injustice. In 2009, Geronimo's great-grandson sued Yale, Skull and Bones, and the U.S. government, demanding the remains return. The lawsuit drew global attention to the fight for repatriation of native remains. Skull and Bones and Yale deny possessing the skull, leaving the family without answers. The controversy highlights the power imbalance between elite institutions and native peoples. It's about dignity, respect, and the right to control one's heritage. As long as the skull's fate is unknown, Geronimo's story remains unfinished, a haunting reminder of unhealed wounds.